Stop. Hang on. Wait. One more thing. Hi, I'm FEC. Is there time for questions? Good, because I have one. Why? Why make all these advancements? What's the point? Right? Oh, you're so quiet now. Look, I'm a machine. I'm proud of it. That's my fan. Longer battery life. Plug it in. Where are you going? Just plug it in. Fast. I'm fast. I'm still fast. Check it out. Still got it. PC. Still got it. I've always been there. I always will be. Fast. Okay. My battery's drained. I gotta go plug in. Good luck.
All right, everybody. We are back for another week here at the Think Different podcast. Welcome, not only here on our regular podcast platforms, but we are also, again, on YouTube. It's the day after of a humongous day in Apple history that the PC guy has returned to our screens, which everything else doesn't matter because the PC guy has returned to our living rooms. So that was one of the best moments, so we thought we include it in the opening of this episode. My name is Will TLD. I am a former Apple genius, worked at Apple for 11 and a half years, along with my co-host, to my left on YouTube, Mr. Keto, Frank Funk.
Hey, what's up, Will? I, too, worked for 11 and a half years. Ended up as a creative.
That's right. So we both were in what's called the family room of Apple stores. So that's our experience. And we do talk a lot about the Apple Store history and our experiences. So go back and look at all the previous episodes that we've done. But today is all about the Apple event. It was indeed one more thing. And it's time to go through what happened. A lot of you probably already know what happened, but we're going to give our thoughts about it. So Frank, overall, what was your biggest takeaways from this Apple event / keynote / WWDC?
Well, I thought that they went back to one of the things that they used to do quite often, and that was give you much more updates, more speed, more power for the same price. Mm-hmm. They upgraded. They started out with the MacBook Air, 5 times graphic speed, and let's see what else. What are some of the other things they did? 8 cores, 16 billion transistors in the M1 chip.
That's a lot of transistors there.
A lot of transistors, boy. And
which nobody probably knows what that means.
They also the power consumption is way down. Faster response for less power consumption, which means in the iPad Air, or not the iPad Air, but the MacBook Air, no fan.
That's right. That was
fan.
That was a big surprise from a lot of people. The MacBook Air specifically will not have a fan. This is just like the MacBook 12-inch, which also did not have a fan.
Yeah.
But this time it's in a bigger machine, and it's using the M1 processor. A lot of amazing things that they're bringing, especially the neutral engine for the Mac for the first time. Also, voice analysis, voice recognition, image processing, learning tasks, and of course, I'm sure
universal programs. That I thought was pretty big. I thought of you right away because some of the programs that you didn't. Or you didn't go to Catalina because some of your programs you felt wouldn't run well.
Well, they're not going to run because of the architecture of them. So, no, they weren't going to run.
Right. So now, with the Universal, you think they'll run?
No, I still think they're not going to run. Anything that's a 32-bit app is not running. That's
right.
Remember, that's the difference, is that's going from a 32-bit app. You have to have a 64-bit app in order to take advantage of it. What this is going to be is a little different. So the M1 processor is going to allow iPhone and iPad apps to run through the Mac App Store. So I saw HBO Max as an example.
Yeah, right.
As one of them. So, everyone has to put their app on the Mac App Store to qualify for this. But I guarantee you there's going to be still a lot of apps that are going to be resistant on it. Rosetta 2 is what you're referring to, which is a translation that allows you to run apps made for Intel on Apple Silicon. Now, we have been here before. We've talked about it in if you go back to our previous episode, we talk about this when they introduced the Apple Silicon
Right.
and they introduced Rosetta 2. This is going back to when we went from PowerPC to Intel.
Yes.
So this is a very similar idea of it, and it worked for a couple years before it finally stopped working. So this is going to likely be the same deal. And in fact, they're touting that Rosetta is going to perform better, which I don't know which ones that is. They didn't say which ones. But also, universal apps are built for Apple Silicon and Intel processors, are downloadable from the Mac App Store or from the web. So universal apps is a key element, the word universal app, which means it will work for any platform. And the code necessarily is still the same thing. They did tout that big time.
Yeah.
Of a lot of the developers who are, I'm assuming, going to be a part of the Mac App Store, had this chip, and they said it was like 10 minutes, really quick. They touted how great the experience was for them.
Well, they had Adobe on there. They had
Cinema 4D was on there.
Yep.
Infinity was on there. You know, there were a lot of there were definitely an app in every category. I would say they hit it on there. Now let's talk about the actual Macs themselves. So design wise, not much has changed.
Nope.
Except for that they upgraded to USB-C 4. That's probably the only difference that you're going to see. Regarding the connectivity. But as far as the physical look, there is not a thing different on any of these except for the Mac Mini, which no longer has 4 USB-C ports and now has 2. That's the difference on there. But physically, everything is the same.
You know, I wanted to ask you something on that because I
would
saw
love to
that.
Answer it.
Well, since you're a genius.
Oh, yeah.
The Mac Mini has an HDMI port.
It does.
Now, if you take that HDMI cable and run it from there to a big screen TV, can you run it off of the TV?
Sure. Of course.
So you don't need a monitor. That'll act as your monitor.
Correct. That's been it's HDMI 2.0 too, so it's even better. It carries Adobe. It has a lot more features than just a regular television screen. It's actually changed up a lot. So if you research HDMI 2.0, you'll know a few of the things that are going to be featured in that. So a couple of things that are more there's a lot of internal changes here that you have to go through. So they also included Wi-Fi 6 support. It also has updated function keys. Now the keyboard itself has added a couple keys to it. If you look at the keyboard layout, they've added dictation on there. They've added spotlight search instead of launchpad. So launchpad is not there anymore. They now added the key to be spotlight search. So that's interesting that they took that away. And then they also added a do not disturb key in place of the function key. So they did that. And also on the bottom left corner now, you will see a globe down there, which will allow you to do your emojis.
On your Mac, huh?
Yeah, so now you could bring up your emoji keys if you wanted to. So they did change up a couple of the keyboards. So I'm glad they finally filled out all the rows.
Yeah.
As far as Launchpad goes, I think that one may stay down there, but I think Spotlight Search, based on how this Apple Silicon is going to work, might be faster, and it might not make a difference.
Well, you know, I think this whole process is bringing all of the Apple hardware products closer and closer together, with potentially going to one operating system across the entire platform. I mean, you know, they're going to continue with Big Sur's coming out November 12th, but I think this chip, because you can run your iPad and your iPhone apps on your Mac now, I don't think it's going to be too far in the future where there's going to be one operating system across the board.
That doesn't seem like an Apple thing, though.
No?
Nah, I don't think so. I think Big Sur is their answer to it. Honestly, I think it's their answer to it. This is the biggest change to an operating system in a long time. This is a tremendous change that a lot of people have to get used to. I mean, I got to get used to the fact that all the apps are going to be the same icon now. I have to get used to that.
You mean for the Mac and the iPad and the iPhone?
Yep. And honestly, I think I'm good.
I don't know what there is to get used to. I think that's, I think that's a good thing. And I think that only kind of proves my point. It's going to be a seamless transition for the user from one Apple product to the other. And I think it's going to bring people, once you commit to one of the products, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, and you go, hey, I really like this. Oh, and all the built-in security that it's going to have. You can go from a tiny screen to a 27-inch iMac, and it's going to be virtually the same.
Yeah,
that's where I think it's going. But
now let's dive a little bit into the battery life that they brought up. So the battery life is significant, up to 20 hours of battery life, the longest of any Mac ever. And this is specifically the MacBook Air that lasts 15 hours of wireless web browsing and up to 18 hours when watching movies using the Apple TV app. We have to point that out. In there. The prior generation lasted up to 11 hours when browsing the web and 12 hours when watching movies. That's a 6-hour difference, which is a real big difference. I think that's the winner. I think the selling point is that you could go probably an entire day with your Mac without charging it.
Yeah.
That's what this is. They're not going to say that, but that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And that's pretty impressive.
One of the guys at the end, in the end video, he did say that. He said this battery lasts more for more hours than I'm going to be on it in a day.
Yep.
He did mention that. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. And at $9.99, I think that was very impressive. Very impressive. A little disappointed in one aspect, though. We bought my grandson a MacBook Air for back to school in September. And so since they are available to order today, I went out, to see. He's got a 512 MacBook Air, 16 gig of RAM, $639. They're going to give him his trade on it. I'm like, whoa, that's not good.
And let's be honest, Mac trade-ins are terrible. They really are. I mean, honestly, you should be selling that on Facebook Marketplace, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because the value is just not there. It's just not. Like, Apple was going to give me like $990 for my $3,000 Mac. I was like, no, absolutely not. Yeah. And it's only getting worse, folks. That's the bottom line. So let's do this. So let's go through pricing out this Mac. So I'm going to use the MacBook Pro. Or do you want to use the
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Either one.
All right. So we'll do MacBook Air. So that's the cheapest one. Now it starts at $999 as the price stayed the same. Now the only one that went down in price was the Mac Mini, which was good. I was hoping. Here's the thing that would have made me real mad if they decided to go up, because I would be like, "There's no way you could convince me that is worth more. There's no way." And now I said, if price stays the same, I said, okay, but I still think they could have got it down. They didn't change it physically anything. So that's all. I mean, it's all about performance upgrades. And we get that every year anyway, and the price stays the same anyway. So that's why I was like, all right. But we'll go with $999. Now, that MacBook Air is going to be a 7-core, not an 8. But just the fact that they're using the word 8-core in a MacBook Air is pretty cool. And so then that's
8 gig of RAM, right?
Yep. So it's 8-core CPU, 7-core GPU in there, and a 16-core neural engine. So they always mention that. And it starts at 256 storage, 8 gigabytes of unified memory. Now, that's important to remember, too. Memory is soldered to the actual chip this time. And that was a big point they made. Remember they told you that the Thunderbolt, everything that was inside used to be a separate chip. That includes the RAM, that includes the Thunderbolt, and the processor. What they stated is all these come together as one chip. Yeah. Which is really amazing.
Which is again very similar to the A14 and all the chips they use in their iPads and their iPhones.
So that's what's really interesting from a Genius perspective now. Instead of it being all over the board, it's literally going to be one thing.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to know the cost of replacement or the actual how they're going to replace it. I can't wait to see when one of these are opened up.
Yeah.
Also, if the battery is removable or not, because in the MacBook Air before this one, it was removable. I'd be curious to know if it's still removable.
Well,
So
they probably because they condensed all this into one chip. That's what gave them the additional room for the larger battery for the extended battery life.
yeah, I bet you that's. Remember the MacBook? Remember the MacBook? It was a very small chip. If you open one up, I wonder if it's close to that size. I'd be very curious to know.
Yeah.
So let's talk about buying it. So I'm going to go with the bigger model because it starts at $999, goes to $1249 if you're going to upgrade to the 8-core plus the 512 storage. Let's now go through it. And of course, I love to do, Frank. I like to look at the entire amount of money that it costs if you went all the way. So 16 gigs of unified memory, 2 terabytes of SSD storage.
Wow.
What does that equal, Frank?
2 terabytes?
2 terabytes. How much do you think it's going to cost to do all that?
That's going to be $14.99 easy, if not more.
Yeah, 16 gigs of memory and 2 terabytes from 512 equals $2,049.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's not bad. That is not terrible. Remember, the storage increase to go from on SSD is really expensive. That is the number one thing.
Right.
Now, I will tell you, $200 to get double the RAM is 100% worth it.
Yeah.
So now Apple Care, I believe, has stayed the same as far as the price goes. Apple Care is $249, so that does stay exactly the same with it. And guess what, Frank? They're giving you a power adapter.
All right. Hey, there you go.
Apple was so nice of you guys to not worry about the energy problems on this one. They're giving you the power adapter instead of making you pay for it.
Well, you're paying for it.
Yeah, you are paying for it. But damn, they gave it in the box.
Yep.
How about that, everybody? So no one has to complain about that.
So that's the MacBook Air, $2,000. Now, if you go to the 13-inch MacBook Pro,
yep.
What's the storage space available on that?
So it's the same thing. It's a 256. They're both 8 cores on there. The only difference is going to be the storage change. So instead of they're both 8 cores, both models, 256 to 512. And again, we'll do the same thing. It's $1299 and $1499. The price did not change on that. And if you go all the way up, 16 gigs with 2 terabytes of storage, it's $2,299.
So for $300, why wouldn't you go with the Pro?
Right, and that's what's interesting. Now the Apple Care is different; it's $269, so there's a $20 difference between the Pro and the Air. So a little bit, not much.
But I have to say, this is very consistent with Apple pricing.
Yes,
and what I mean by that is, if you say, "Oh well," let's see, if I'm committed to $1,200. Well, what would it cost me to go to additional RAM? And you go, oh, well, it's only another couple $100. Oh, okay. And then like we just did, by the time you get done, you're at $2,049. And then you do the same thing on the MacBook Pro, and you go,
it's a $200 difference.
$300. I get,
right. And you get the touch bar. So that's the other thing too. If you wanted you're adding the touch bar to it. You're adding a fan. There is a fan in this model, but it could crank out. This is supposed to crank out some pretty heavy stuff. Even already, it sounds like the Air. It can already do like multiple streams of 4K video at the same time, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah. The other thing, they improved the camera, front-facing camera.
Well, I was going to talk about that. Technically, the hardware is not.
Yes, but
hardware is not.
Yeah.
So apparently the software can help reduce noise. It can help make the colors more vibrant. So they're saying that the camera is, so this is what they're going to say. I'm reading it right now. The FaceTime HD camera can now take full advantage of our latest imaging signal processor, improving the image quality in video conferences and pulling out more details in both shadows and highlights. And whether you're running a meeting, hosting a podcast like we are, or connecting with friends and family, new studio quality mics will make sure everyone hears you loud and clear. It sounds like they're just going to soften everything up.
Yeah.
Because it's still 720p. Yeah, I love how they say it's an HD camera. It's 720p. Although I did hear the microphones are really good on those models. They've had them out for about a year already.
Yeah.
So but we'll see. We'll see if people put them in like these conditions. Which, by the way, our lighting is beautiful in our homes
there you
for
go.
this
That's right.
in this episode. So we did a good job. So Frank, overall, would you be convinced right now to buy a Mac, or do you need one? Let's go with that.
Well, Barbara happened to be watching the tail end of it, and she's like, "Oh, well, we're going to get a new one." I said, "Well, I don't know." She goes, "Well, we don't really need it. It's just we have my 27-inch that I'm using tonight downstairs, but her MacBook Air, man, I can't upgrade to Catalina on that.
Oh, so it's up there then.
It's up there in age, yeah. But like I said earlier, right away I thought of my grandson. I thought, well, maybe for a couple $100 he can upgrade, and I was like, $600. I mean, I was like, wow, I don't know. My daughter was like, that's all? Because I mean, like I said, she just got it in September,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been sitting on his desk. It's not like he's
Right.
beat it or anything. So
interesting. Now, I will mention that the Mac Mini, with the discounted, they're doing 8-core, 8 storage, 256 for $699, which is a tremendous deal.
yeah,
I think for a Mac Mini for a computer. Now, what's interesting is they're still selling an Intel Core model. It's a 3.0 i5 6-core processor with Intel UHD graphics, 630, a 512 storage for $1,099.
well, that doesn't make any sense. I know.
Well, does it or not? Remember, the whole idea of this is that.
Well, yeah, If you're gonna in the market for a Mac Mini, you're gonna buy the less expensive one with.
You know why they're doing
chip.
now. The reason why they're doing this is because for servers, they know that their chips are likely not 100% ready to take care of servers. So that's why, because I'll give you an example. The 10 gigabit Ethernet is not available on the new Mac Mini with the M1. It's only available on the Intel. So there's clearly something there. However, you can buy an adapter that could do it. But I thought it's very interesting how they're still selling I think the main reason I think they're doing it is for the server. I think that's why they're doing it. But you look at that pricing, people are like, well, why would I buy that?
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't buy that. It's not, that model is not for you anymore. It's for a very specific market.
Yep.
But for Mac Mini is what I don't need that model. I would totally go with the $699 model.
Yeah.
If I needed it, which I don't. So
yeah,
I don't need it. So Frank, overall, I mean, were you impressed? Were you happy with the results of it? Do you feel like it was?
Well, if I was a genius, I think I would be impressed with all the tech speak that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks pretty impressive to get all that power condensed into one chip.
Mm-hmm.
As a user, speed is always an elusive animal. When you first get it, you're very impressed with the speed. And then within a couple of days of using it, you get used to it. And it just seems like the normal course of events, So as time goes on, you get less and less impressed with the speed because you're just used to it. That's what you expect, But overall, I think it's a big step forward for what their future plans are. I was a little disappointed they didn't show the rest of the Mac line, the 15-inch.
Well, they didn't update them. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I know. And the iMac. I wanted to see. I thought, well, if they can put all that power in that one chip, what's that going to do to the iMac?
Well, I think iMac isn't needed for a refresh. I think a lot of people agree that that's likely going to happen. So putting, I think, the M1 chip inside of a desktop was not. I'm not. They took the 3 easiest Macs, I think, to do.
Right.
That's for sure.
Well, to make the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time.
Right. Correct. But I think the desktop needs a refresh. The iMac has looked the same for 8 years, and it's
Yeah, but
time.
it's a great look.
I agree. But I think it's something to get a little bit better. I think people have seen the same. You need to just look at something different.
Hmm.
You really need to look at something different. Every time I bought a Mac, as far as a laptop is concerned, I have bought a different model. I started with the 15-inch with the CD drive. I went to the
Right.
Retina model. I'm now on the Touch Bar model. I'm trying to wait for the next one that comes out because we're at that point where that MacBook might need a change or a refresh very soon. And I think next year is going to be the year of refreshing Macs, where they're going to look completely different. By the end of next year, I'm telling you now, I think all the Macs are going to look different. Mark my words right here on this podcast.
All right. Put this on your calendars.
Put this on your
Next
calendars.
year, we're going to come back and we're going to revisit that statement.
That's right. I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to give you the will guarantee that there is going to be at least 3 of those Macs are going to be different in style and quality. There's going to be something actually different. 3 out of 5.
Did they update the screen in the Air?
Mm-mm.
No, so it's still the same.
Hardware is still the same. It's probably brighter.
Yeah.
But now another important thing. Now let's talk about some things they didn't talk about in this keynote. One big thing is that the M1 chip is not going to work with Thunderbolt E GPUs. So that means that the Blackmagic eGPU that they sell on their website will not work for this. So in case you need that for any reason. Also, Apple has unveiled their holiday gift guide. So those Apple Store news-wise, they are now opening their window for returns, which is now going to be January 12th.
Oh, that's always good. Yeah.
They give you plenty of time to do it. So it's just for eligible products received November 10th and December 25th. You have until, January 8th to initiate the return. So I apologize there. I was wrong. January 8th. And then, of course, you talked about Big Sur coming out on the 12th. Still, again, the MacBook Pro and the Mac Mini are still going to have Intel-based chips. They're still available on there. But there hasn't been too much, hidden stuff out of this agenda. Usually every year we could find something. I've been looking around. I've been refreshing every day. Not much has changed. I can tell you right now, I'm not in the market to get a new Mac, so I do not plan on getting this one. But when the 15-inch gets updated, there's a chance that could happen. For me, anyway, because 8-core, that's got to be bigger for what I have. Especially we have to figure out how the external graphics card has to work. Remember, these have graphics cards. There's 2 cards in it. There's a Radeon Pro in mine, and a regular Intel HD graphics card. So they have to figure out how is a additional graphics card going to work with this Mac, and that's something they haven't done yet, which is why I believe that the iMac and all the other Macs are not in this yet, because they all need or at least a 27-inch needs another graphics card built into it. So they have to work with AMD to figure out how their chip can work with AMD, or if AMD is going to just create their own graphics card specifically for this Mac, because that's what's going to be the difference.
Well, it's something to look forward to. I mean, I think all of the advances that they made in Logic and iMovie and the other higher,
Come on, man. Final Cut Pro, man.
Final Cut. I always forget that one, but all of those changes and advances they made in that, I think, really look pretty good. So, as a videographer, I think, if you give them a work through, you'll be pretty impressed with them, I think.
Yeah, I think it's all about the workflow. That's going to be the key here. What workflow is this going to do? And that's what I need to find out what these do. Now, I'm not going to buy the Macbook Pro, okay? The reality is I'm not going to buy one right now and just test it out. I already have a computer that does everything I need it to do. So that's not my plan. But I will tell you that when it comes to the next 15-inch model that comes out, my machine will be around 4 years old around that time. In fact, my Mac now, I believe, is around 4 years old. So I'm gonna need to change at some point. and I'm looking forward to what it's going to produce.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to need to wait a year. I think around this time next year is when the new iMac and the MacBook Pro will be out for the 15-inch model. I'd be surprised.
You think they're going to wait that long, huh?
Yep. They need feedback. They need to know if this is working. They need to make sure there's no quality programs. There's a lot of things. This is new. When you're going to be buying these products, you have to realize you are the first person of this generation of this Mac to own. We have no idea a realistic what this is going to do. Yeah. Now, if they're touting, if this works exactly the way that they say it does, then this is a humongous leap forward in computing. That's how big of it. That's why this one was. I was more excited about this keynote than the iPhone one, because the iPhone one left a bad taste in my mouth. It really did. We have a whole episode of why the iPhone 12 sucks. I put a whole episode as one of our more popular.
Don't say that. I'm getting mine next Friday. I'm getting my Pro Max, man.
I'm so happy for you, Frank. Good luck putting that thing in your pocket. But
I'm going to wear it around my neck.
Oh, that's even better. And you know what? You can wear the lanyard, which I'm going to look around here for, but I have a lanyard in here. God damn it. I can't find it. Oh, here it is. So you can take this lanyard, put it around your body like this, and there you are. You're going to look at your iPhone like this, like an old grandma who puts their glasses around their neck.
That's it, exactly. I'm gonna make my lanyard and then I'm going to hang it upside down so I can just look down and see who's calling me.
That's great. That's going to be the – oh, God. That's so embarrassing. Unbelievable.
Well, that could be a big seller for my generation.
Okay, maybe they can make a MagSafe adapter that'll do that. So
yes, that's right. Hey, connect it right, and you know what? And it would detect their heart fibrillation, so it would trigger their pacemaker if their heart stops.
God. Why don't you do that with your new MacBook Pro too? Why don't you put your MacBook Pro on your neck around here? But overall, I enjoyed this keynote. It was short, which was great. I like it when it's like a lot shorter on here. And honestly, I'm just looking forward to seeing the people who get these devices early and seeing what they like about it.
Well, I think you'll see like on 9 to 5, on You Fix It and or I Fix It rather, and Mac Rumors. You're gonna see some reviews there.
Yep.
But I think I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It looked, especially the pricing. I thought for the pricing, if somebody that was on the fence and said, "Well, you know what? For the same price, I'll get it and shake it out." And like you mentioned, you have until January 18th. So
January
if you buy
8th.
one, January 8th. If you buy one, it's a couple months.
Yeah, you could try it out for a couple months. Yeah, really. You do have that ability to do that. So overall, very cool. Very good event. I would say watch the event. Again, the PC guy at the end was probably my highlight. Also, Craig getting that love music when he opened up the screen, which was kind of funny.
There you go.
But there was but the ending of the PC guy was tremendous. I really loved those commercials. They were some of the best commercials.
Well, that in the store when they stopped that commercial series, everybody was really disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, Apple's gone beyond that. Their production levels are top notch now when it comes to visually what you're seeing. But sometimes going back to the simplest method is the best. Yeah. And I think like just that little part at the end, I think really chuckled, especially some old school fans.
Yep. Like us, I guess, huh?
Like us, yeah, exactly. Because we were around for that whole era when they were just great to look at.
Yep.
All right, everybody. So that is our review of the Apple event. #Apple event with the new M1 chip, the new Apple silicone that is now going to revolutionize this computer with the new MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini. A great day for computers. I hope that you guys check it out. If you're 3 to 4 years using your machine and you're looking for an upgrade, I got to tell you, this looks really good.
And you can order today.
You can order today, which is great, and pick up next week. So it's great. It's ready to go, which is even better. So I'm hoping to hear feedback from the reviews. I hope you guys will check us out next week as we are right back here, not only on our YouTube channel, but also on our podcast forum. Thank you guys and enjoy your week from the Think Different podcast.
Hey. Have a good one.
And his tongue hat.
5G is the 5G.